Hello everyone, welcome to NYC Derailed Live. Tonight we're going to be doing passenger service. So we're going to start off with the Burlington Zephyr, which is a Concours model. We have it in the front first track here. And then also we're going to start off with the Bachmann Amtrak Estella model that we have, which is on the middle track. So we'll give the Zephyr some time to clear and come around the other side, and then we'll get that train going. Can you flip that switch next to you? We'll get the Amtrak Estella pulling out of the station. So yeah, this model we got probably almost a year ago now. The Estella, and really like it. It's got a little bit of a slow start to it. I've tried adjusting some of the values, but it runs okay. But you have to really crank it up to like 70 or more to get it moving smoothly. But it is a really nice model. It's got very nice lighting features inside. So we've got the basic set that has the three car consist and the front drive car, and then the rear dummy car. And the Concours Zephyr we got a few months ago. We've been looking for one for a while, and finally found one for a reasonable price on eBay. And that model runs really, really well. It's a little bit meticulous to get together because it's got all these connectors in between each section that you have to hook up. They don't have to leave a lot of slack in the wiring. But what's good about that is the whole thing is lit and controlled by one decoder, and I believe it uses that wiring to also pick up electricity. So it's got really, really smooth operation. So we'll see the Estella coming into the front track as the Zephyr passes behind it. Two really, really sleek trains. And we'll switch over to the warehouse module. You guys can see them coming around the corner over there. So the Zephyr is an articulated, I guess, consist slash engine. So that means that these other cars basically share a truck. But it does pretty well. We have 22-inch radius curves, and it does really well in our layout. So no issues there. And then on the topic of radiuses, the Estella has a couple different close couplers. It doesn't have standard KD couplers. It has like the socket and pocket kind of coupler. And I'm using the longer ones between the actual cars. The two end cars and the dummy engine and driving engine have a little bit more of a close coupling because they're not as long, so they don't have as much of an issue. But if I try to use the close coupling on the between the coaches, we'd probably have some derailments with our radiuses. So it looks pretty cool. The couplings do articulate quite a bit, so it gives you a lot of flexibility there. And I'll stop the Estella in the station to get a better look at it. So it's hard to tell here, but the coaches are lit. It's got a very I don't know what the word is, like almost like a masked window, tinted window. And then it's got very warm LEDs inside, so it's got really nice lighting effects. It does have two pantographs on either engine. They are not motorized, but you can pop them up and run them with the pantographs up. And then the rear engine and front engine operate together. So even though one is only motorized, there is either an accessory to code or something in the rear one. So you program them at the same address, and the lighting will actually flip depending on which direction you're going for both engines, which is really cool. So you can run it in either direction. My only thing is how many speed steps you have to give it to get it going. But other than that, it's a really, really nice set. I'll switch around to the warehouse in a bit.
Now, is the Acela the fastest train that we have in the Northeast?
I think so. So, and it goes, was it between DC and New York City?
I believe it's Boston and DC.
Oh, I thought it went to New York City. Maybe not.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was surprised as well. I thought it was exclusively New York City and DC.
Huh.
But apparently it does make stops in New York City, Baltimore,
Oh, okay.
Maryland, and Philadelphia, PA.
So yeah, well, I know there's been some interest. So we have I think they call it the Northeast Corridor, basically that goes up through Albany and then to Montreal. And there's been interest in having a high-speed train there, but unfortunately, what I've heard is the route is just too curvy, and it would cost billions of dollars to redo the route. So I don't think we're getting any high-speed trains from New York City up through Montreal anytime soon.
Yeah. So even right now, I think the Acela can reach speeds up to 150 miles per hour, but with those tight curves, that's not happening.
Yeah, nowhere near the speeds of other people's high-speed rail either.
I think the record right now for New York City all the way to DC is about 2 hours and 30 or 2 hours and 45 minutes. So imagine if we had less sharp curves on the route down, how fast we would be able to commute.
Yeah, it's too bad. We have a ton of rail in this country, but it's not really built with high-speed trains in mind. So unfortunately, that means that we have engines even now. I think that go from Albany to New York City, and they're capable of higher speeds, and they can't utilize those speeds because the route just will not allow it. Yeah, so unfortunately, this model doesn't have sound. There is a more expensive version, I think, that has sound. I don't know if I can't remember if this has a speaker built into it. We do get the DCC version, so it has DCC in it. I don't know if we wanted to add sound. If we'd probably have to buy Bachmann specific decoder for it, and I don't know if this has a speaker in it already or not. Should we do the Lufthansa or the Doodlebug?
I think give the Lufthansa a shot.
All right. So we're gonna add an engine to the mix here. It's gonna be a Lima model. This is one we've recently converted to DCC. Um, and it's an engine we really like. Again, it's a Lima. It's an older Lima, so excuse if you guys can hear the flange bumping on the track. Can you flip that switch? Perfect. And then just move it forward a little bit. I just want to make sure it's got good, good, good. You're good. So you're gonna hear some some flange bumping on the track. We have a lot of Code 83, so with those older flanges, it bumps quite a bit. Oops. Push that forward a little bit. There we go. You can hear that track feel. or sorry, flange bumping, but it runs pretty good. So this has one driven engine. It's a pretty long, heavy train for only having one set of driving trucks and one engine. There is a significant amount of weight in the front engine. One thing we did have to do is we gave this some bullfrog snot. The traction tires on it were completely worn. They were present, but they were really hard, like plasticky, and they weren't gripping at all. So we added some bullfrog snot to the driving trucks yesterday, and it's running pretty good. We haven't had any traction issues. We did put a keep alive in here with our decoder, but with the wheel flange, it really makes it hard. The contact just keeps breaking, but it runs pretty good. But you might see it stall every now and then, like there. I don't know if I really gave the thing enough time to charge up. This is an engine we've had for a while, or sorry, a set we've had for a while, and it was just DC, and we never got around to converting it. We've really been working this year on converting any of our old trains over to DCC, and finally got around to this. We actually had a bad, so loud. We actually had a bad Digitrax decoder. I thought I had wired something wrong, or the wiring was messed up, and I took another decoder and plugged it into the same wiring harness, and it worked fine. So we actually had a bad decoder. Basically, it would sporadically drive the wheels. The lighting functions would work totally fine, but it would just, it would run the wheels for a few seconds, stop, and then randomly, if you wiggled it around, would start running the wheels again. So maybe there was a dead pin somewhere. I don't know what the cause of it was, but it's really, really weird. But I cleaned up the motor on the driving set. They're not too hard to work on, but there was a lot of graphite dust and stuff. So I cleaned up the motor. The motor runs totally fine. The gear set's fine. But yes, happy to have this converted over to DCC.
It is a really cool engine.
Yeah, and I don't know did we ever find out if this was a real
It
train?
actually was.
Okay.
So, oh my god. So, it's the Lufthansa Airport Express, and my first impression was that it was one of those shuttle trains to take passengers from one terminal to another. Apparently, it was actually used to transport people as a replacement for flights of Boeing 737 from Dusseldorf in Germany all the way to Frankfurt
So
International
replace flights.
Airport. Yeah,
Wow.
because they didn't want to spend the money in having these short haul flights, so they decided to go to the German Federal Railways, and they actually had a few of these DB403 models that were laying around, initially used for inner cities, gave them to the airline to use to transport passengers, and they would have four of these um, go around a day.
Wow. So basically, if you couldn't fit on the flight.
They actually canceled the flights from Dusseldorf to Frankfurt and replaced it with the
Oh, okay.
Lufthansa
So it
Airport
wasn't an
Express.
overflow. It was literally they just replaced it altogether.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
It's actually funny too, is that they decided to sell tickets as if they were flight numbers rather than.
Even though it's a train.
Yeah.
Wow. Do they charge the same?
I believe that I do not know.
Yes, I always thought it was a shuttle. I just assumed it was part of the Lufthansa airport or whatever.
So yeah, it was pretty successful. I think it ran from 1982 all the way to 1993. Ultimately led to its demise due to Lufthansa's financial status and a lot of the money that was invested in converting these old trains or these electric trains into to be used for the airlines then.
Oh, wow. We've talked about this in some of our other lives, but we've got to figure out how to get replacement wheels.
Yeah.
These are very big wheels, so it's not like we can just pop in any wheel. We have to kind of get like replacement wheels specifically meant for either the Lima or even for our Rivarossi coaches. I'd like to replace the wheels on because they have the same issue where they have very big flanges and they clack on the rail, especially the Code 83 quite a bit. So runs really well and it's silent in some parts of our layout and really loud in other parts. So.
So today was pretty eventful. We actually took a trip to Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania for a local train show.
Yeah, so we went to it's the Old Train Days train show, and I'm forgetting the name of the actual railroad, but it was held at a railroad museum, and it was nice. It was small, but they had some vendors with some model train stuff, and they had some food vendors there, which was really cool. And then we actually rode on the engines. They have a very small kind of um, gosh, I don't want to call it theme park engine, but it's got two open cars, and basically you can ride in it. Um, and it's got a caboose on the end. I don't know if there was an option to ride in the caboose. We just paid for the two cars, but the open cars. But it was nice. It was a little engine. It was a 15-minute train ride out and back, and it was just a fun thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, there weren't a ton of vendors, but that's these train shows can be a bit of a hit or miss. Sometimes you strike gold, and other times you just go around and enjoy the experience. But it's a great opportunity to find rare older trains. I'm still trying to find the Pennsylvania Railroad T1, which I will find at some point.
What kind of T1 are you looking for? What
Pencil,
brand?
BLI, hopefully. I did see an old Bowser kit, but I'm always afraid that I'm going to mess up the paint scheme or I'm going to glue something incorrectly and have a pretty wonky train.
Yeah, that kit looks good, but it was a lot of parts to put together.
I had an experience painting an old GWR pannier that I got as a gift.
Yeah, that was fun. That wasn't that bad. That was a little kit. It's weird having all those metal pieces to put together, though.
For me, it was more so the paint. I think it was early in my modeling that I realized I needed to find a way to have the paint actually stick to the engine. But I was doing such a beautiful job with the color scheme, and I kept peeling it off with my fingers.
So, yeah, I don't know if there was something we should have treated the metal with or anything. I don't know enough about it. That was the first time I had done one of those soft metal models. I don't know what you typically do with that.
If anyone out there is an expert in painting these engine kits and have any advice that you would like to share with us, please feel free to comment. I'm actually very interested in knowing.
This is running pretty good with that keep alive. It's just bouncing a lot because of the flanges, but nothing we can do about that immediately. Yeah, so no, we don't, typically we run at least one of our Broadway Limited steam engines that has sound, or some of our diesels do. And this is one of the first nights, other than our River Rossi Roundup, if you guys caught the last time we were live, where we haven't had any sounds.
Yeah.
So we've got plenty of ambient sound coming from the Lufthansa, thanks to those wide flanges. Yeah, the Cella has a nice whatever the momentum thing is called. You
A
stop it and
tilting
it.
mechanism?
No, yeah, it does have. So that's something I forgot to mention. The model and train in real life do have tilt. They do tilt, and the model does it in real life. It's hard to see, but if it goes around a curve, you can see it tilts to kind of one side to keep from tipping off the track.
Just such a shame that it has so much potential to go so quickly and we'll never actually be able to experience that.
Yeah, we actually saw one in real person. We were driving back from New Jersey and saw it must have been stopping in New York. We
Oh,
saw it,
wow.
as we were passing through New Jersey, which was pretty cool. All right, we're gonna add our last engine onto the layout. What do you want to swap it out with?
We can swap out the Lufthansa.
Okay, let's just park it back over there then. Not yet. We have to pull it forward just a tad. It might be sticking. I might have gone too far. There you go. That's good. Yep. Cool. All right. So we're gonna add our last, and we should have mentioned this earlier, but when we say passenger service, it's not that we're intentionally excluding steam engines. I don't know if there's a better description, but we wanted to show off or just kind of run uh, sets we had that were strictly passenger sets. So, the Acela is a set. Obviously, the Burlington Zephyr does not come apart and is a set. The Lufthansa is a train set. So that was kind of the theme and why we don't have steam engines running today. Obviously, we'll do steam passenger service more in the future. That's one of our favorite things to run. But right now, we're just focusing on these concepts that are strictly for passenger service. So here we have the Baltimore and Ohio Doodlebug. So it's a really cool, I believe, gasoline-driven engine. Half of it actually was able to fit passengers, and then it typically tows this kind of, I don't know if it's a Pullman wagon, but it typically tows a car. It's not very strong, but it's meant for kind of commuter services. So we actually got it to go with our port module, which we hope to show off more in the future. But we have a little station, and it was a perfect little passenger shuttle to have coming in and out of our port. We can typically fit a little bit longer of a passenger car set, but it just worked. It looked nice in there. So it's a Baltimore and Ohio branded Doodlebug. So it's a really cute model. It runs pretty well. It's only got 2 driving trucks, but it works fine with it being such a small consist. Oh, I didn't even realize that car was lit.
Yeah, Brooklyn.
Wow, Bachmann, even from their cheaper stuff, surprisingly has the pre-lit cars. Wathers. Jeez.
Yeah, Bachmann has been hit or miss, but I will not snub them. They do have some really beautiful models, very nicely lit interiors, or really great quality trains. The K4 that we have is a Bachmann, and I'm absolutely in love with that
Yeah,
one.
it's not like super special like finish wise, but it's such a nice engine. It runs really well. It's got sound, no smoke, but sound. And that's a really nice little engine. So here we got the Doodlebug coming around our warehouse. We've been working on this scene quite a bit, adding some trees in. We want to add some more ground cover and work on the other kind of hills in front to give a little more depth to this scene. We wanted to put it in to break up the scene and give the feeling that a train was coming from somewhere else, which is definitely giving us that effect already, especially when we shoot any camera shots from like a lower angle. So very, very happy with how that's coming out.
So Pennsylvania actually had quite a few model railway shops. That was a lot of fun for
Yeah,
today.
so we went to see what was going on at the actual train show, and then we decided to just on our way back to New York look at what was around us and stop at a few more train stores along the way. I don't we probably don't have the card. Oh yeah, we do. I think it's in that bag. But do you remember what the name of the stores we went to? Was it called the Station?
Oh my gosh.
We went to this really really neat little train store not far from Mechanicsburg, and it was actually it had a really cool look to it. They signed out front, said the station, went inside, and the I'm assuming owner, co-owner, she came up to us and gave us a history, and it was really, really cool. I believe she said it was her father.
It was actually called the station. Just
Yeah.
verified it.
So her father, I guess, had bought this old train station and had a huge layout in it, and wanted to move it to the area we went to, and they actually broke it apart and moved the building and
Piece by piece.
re-erected it. And it was such a cool looking building, and now it's a train store, and they have great, great stuff there if you're ever in the area. What city is it in?
That is actually in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania.
Okay, yeah. So if you're ever in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, definitely stop and check it out. It's called the Station. Really nice little brown building set back from the road a bit, but it's very recognizable. They have a really cool train sign in front that says the station. Definitely check them out. Great store. We weren't from the area, so we couldn't take them up on this, but they do orders for decoders and new models.
Yeah.
They had a lot of great stuff there. A ton of scenery stuff. They had O gauge, Lionel, HO, and they had a ton of N scale. Really, really nice store.
I was surprised they had so many great pieces, and the owners, they were so nice, gave us that history lesson, even offered us coffee. Very sweet and inviting. If you have a chance to go, please do visit it.
Yeah, I think that's
I
the first time I've gone to a train store and been offered a soda or coffee.
Yes, a white glove service.
Yeah,
And to round out the day, we actually did go to Strasbourg.
of course. Yeah, so Strasbourg was on our way back, about an hour away from that town that we were in to see the station, and it we went to the train store there. It was one of the first train stores we went to. It was, oh my gosh, I'm gonna blink out what that's called, but it's literally down the road from the Strasbourg Railroad.
Yeah, I believe it. I think the Strasbourg Railway Shop.
There you go. Okay, so great store again. They have a huge mix of stuff, a ton of N, ton of HO, a ton of O scale, MTH, Lionel. I don't know if they have any other brands. Um, but it was really cool to stop back there because that was one of the first model train stores we went to outside of the city, actually.
Yeah,
When we were first getting into the hobby, and we went to visit Strasbourg back in, I think, 2018.
yeah.
So
What's
quite a
really
while
funny
ago.
is they actually remembered us. They said, "Oh, I
Yeah.
remember you guys. You were the ones that bought the rolling stock a few years ago."
Yeah, we're suckers for getting the cheap secondhand rolling stock. So we were looking through that. Actually, that was the first thing we went to today. They have a ton of that. They have a lot of new stuff, but they do have a lot of rolling stock if you're looking for, anything more affordable or cheaper or secondhand. And most of it's in very good shape. They price really well, so if something is kind of damaged, they will price it accordingly. But yeah, great store. Definitely would go back. We do need to go back to Strasbourg to actually ride the train again.
Yeah,
That was a blast. The first time we went in one of the observation cars.
yeah.
They have some open cars. We decided to go in the observation car, and they've got these really comfy
Swivel
swivel
chairs.
seats. And it's just like a great experience. And then of course the Railroad Museum is right across the street, so you can go into a ton of cool dioramas and train models, and then of course you go into this big kind of open glass warehousey kind of place where there's actually real locomotives that they're preserving there.
Yeah,
There's a lot of really cool ones. Some of them you can go in and see like the controls on steam engines. You can go look on some of the diesels. They explain how it works. It's a great, great place. And they also have stuff outside. You can go outside and see stuff. And then if we want to stay there, have not. But down the road from there is there's like a caboose hotel. So it's a ton of real train cabooses that are parked out in this field, and they're rooms, and you rent them out as a hotel, and that looks really cool. Oh, and one other call out. So also not far from the Strasbourg Railroad, somewhere we went to 5 years ago, but not recently, is the model the toy train museum.
yes.
That's really cool. Again, ton of layouts. There's a lot of Lionel old school stuff there. They have a lot of interactives, so like you can press buttons and you queue off these like animations.
Oh, the switching mechanism.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to go, especially if you have kids. I mean, it's fun for adults, but if you have kids, the Toy Train Museum is really nice, and that's in Strasbourg as well, probably 10 minutes away from the railroad.
It's a
So,
railroad enthusiast stream. They have, I believe, the Choo Choo Barn right next to the Strasbourg Railway Shop has a huge layout as well. I think it's very kid friendly. Please feel free to check it out. And for fans of Strasbourg, I believe Lionel made recently released a Strasbourg
yeah,
steam
I don't
engine.
know if they had an older one, but there's definitely either a re-release or new release of the Strasbourg train car set. We are dying to get something in HO. I haven't seen anything. You actually talked to the owner of the One Train store, and they do have these scale models.
Yes, they actually have I believe Bachman, quote me if I'm wrong, Bachman released their own version of the Strasbourg passenger cars. But I had a chance to speak to the owner in Strasbourg, and they're actually selling these kits. Very beautiful, very detailed. They have the swivel chairs, they have the bathroom,
Wow.
very beautiful, very detailed. I was a little bit out of my price range today, or else I would have walked
Are they
out with
runnable
them.
models?
Yeah.
And are they HO?
I believe they're HO. Not no no no, not necessarily. They said that they expanded it by 10% just so you can focus on the details. So they might be a little bigger. I'm not sure how they would run on a layout, but it's
Are they
still.
meant to run, or are they meant to just be display?
I wish I would have asked. I think I was too enamored with the idea of having those passenger cars.
They were really cool. All right, we're gonna bring the trains back to our main station as one last run around, so we can end the stream.
And if anyone had a chance to look, we were playing around with our warehouse. We were adding a few trees, a little bit more scenery to our little ridge there.
Yeah, I'll switch back to that quick while the doodlebug goes through.
It's looking a lot fuller. I'm falling in love with it.
Yeah, having it break up had some depth between the and it's hard to see, but we actually have a place for boxcars to dock behind the warehouse. But breaking up that scene really makes you feel like that track is coming from nowhere
Yeah.
instead of it coming from behind the station, which is really nice. 'Cause we don't have a ton of room. Listen, we have a pretty good sized layout. I'm not going to complain. But with having loops and stuff, and there's no mountain or anything, it looks, the track just running behind kind of ruins the immersion. So having that come from back here, especially if you take videos from a low angle, it looks like the train. You don't know where the train's coming from, and it really helps break it up. And we're actually planning on. We haven't really shown this too much because we're trying to get some of our plywood covered. But our back corner of our layout, we want to add a pretty significant mountain that's going to really cut the layout in half
Yeah.
and make it feel like trains are traveling from one place to another. So definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, we definitely have a lot more work to do.
Yeah, but even reading about the techniques, I was watching a video from what is the Model Railway Academy, how to make trees look more realistic by using old feathers and just dipping it in turf,
Yeah.
turf builder. So cool and so
Well,
realistic.
we're gonna try that, right? We actually got those twigs or whatever they're called
Yes.
from that everybody uses to make realistic trees. So you just spray them with adhesive spray, which we have, and you roll them in turf, and they make these amazing realistic trees. So definitely looking forward to adding that.
Super exciting.
Well, thank you anybody who joined us live. Hope you enjoyed the topics and watching our trains run around the layout. We will definitely be doing more lives in the future. If you are watching this recorded, also thank you for joining. If you do enjoy the content, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you get alerted when we have future videos or lives. We are trying to do more reviews of some model trains and also trying to do a little bit more consistent live. So if you like this, definitely subscribe to the channel so you get alerted in the future. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.